Welcome to the Brain Gain Youngstown Leadership Series podcast. Each week, we'll learn from leaders who are driving change and making an impact. Now here's your host, the CEO of the Youngstown Publishing Company, Jeff Leo Herrmann.
We're thrilled to have Shawn Armstrong here today. Shawn, thanks for joining us here on the Brain Gain podcast.
Thank you for having me, Jeff. Appreciate it. Glad to be here.
And you are sitting at the Central YMCA, correct, in downtown Youngstown?
Correct. Central YMCA, downtown Youngstown, the historical Youngstown YMCA.
Right. And it is open for business, correct?
Yes, we reopened back in June 1st to be exact, and have ramped up month over month, and we are open and well.
I have to say, I've been going to the Y for quite a while, and was in not too long ago, and impressed by the protocols and the amount of, just the environment is a great environment to work out, and just all the precautions being taken. There's hand sanitizer everywhere, plenty of masks, everyone's masked up. So it feels like a great place to work out.
Yeah, absolutely. Our staff have done an amazing job of, we clean around the clock, high touch areas, of course. I know a lot of businesses are taking these precautions. A lot of the equipment is spread out 6 feet or even beyond. The classes are spaced out as well. But people seem to feel safe. A great place right now. We are getting more and more each month that have returned, and nothing but great feedback about the cleanliness of our facility.
Absolutely. And I can't wait to get back in action with Clement Franklin. I tell you what, that 12 rounds class, that's something else.
Oh yeah, definitely. We'll save a spot for you. Okay. You might want to prepare yourself before that class, but
I have to work out before the workout just to get back into some type of conditioning.
There you go. Clement does a great job.
Oh yeah. Well, no. So, we're thrilled you're here on the podcast today. We're what you would love some background. So, as a child, what did you aspire to do when you were growing up? And you recently moved back here from the Detroit area, correct?
I was actually in Raleigh, North Carolina. Prior to that, I was in the Metro Detroit area.
That's right. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, you've definitely so you're back into the Mahoning Valley. We're thrilled to have you back.
Back here. Love it. Glad to be here. I got here 1 month before the pandemic hit. I got here February 6th last year. Great to be home. Love home. Of course, miss the, Bellaria and Wedgwood pizza. I didn't get that in Raleigh, North Carolina, but it's excellent to be home, and, was very, very glad to be here.
So growing up, what were your sights set on, say, as a child? What did you want to do when you grew up?
So this is, not just in favor of you, but actually I wanted to be a news journalist initially. In elementary school, I did a book report on Walter Cronkite.
No way.
And no joke. And from that moment, I had a great interest in it. That eventually fizzled out once I got into basketball. And of course, I thought I was going directly to the league. That did not happen, needless to say. But yeah, I was definitely probably jumped around on my path of career, and eventually ended up in healthcare before landing in this position.
Okay. And was there anything in particular that got you into healthcare? Was it just always an interest in wellness and fitness? And
always had a passion to help people, and want to care for others. My earlier years here in Youngstown, I worked with the Youngstown Developmental Center with the mentally challenged. Great experience. So from that edge, I knew I wanted to remain in healthcare to some degree. Mm-hmm. I really literally did research in the healthcare field, landed in radiology, actually. I'm still certified as an X-ray tech. Wow. From there, your pathway sort of leads you each step of the way. And so from there, I really began to progress into leadership positions, being promoted by my peers and things of that nature. And one thing led to another. And like I said, right before this position, I've been leading radiology departments. And right before moving back, I was regional administrator at UNC over their physician practice sector. So
Well, was there, when you were growing up, I know you mentioned Walter Cronkite, were there other people in your life that you looked to, for leadership kind of and growth opportunities?
Honestly, I didn't have to look far. My parents were probably the most inspirational in my life. My mother, one of the hardest working women I know. My father, the same. Didn't see them sleep much. They worked around the clock to make sure we had the things that we needed. Same thing on my grandparents' side. My grandfather retired, if I'm not mistaken, 3 times. He worked in the steel mill, got another job, retired, and then I think ultimately retired. He worked over at Stanbaugh doing security. And my grandmother, always took others in. She did foster parenting and just a caring family, and big shoes to fill. So didn't have to look far for inspiration.
That's excellent. Was there someone that you, transitioning to the Central YMCA, that's an organization with, like you said, a great history. What was that switch like going from, say, an administrative position at a healthcare system to the YMCA? Like how did that change?
Sure. I get that question a lot. So the operations is operations. So that part comes easy, budget, strategy, et cetera. The piece for me that drew me back in here is I've always had this itch to want to come back and give back to the city. Didn't know when that would come. I saw this position open up, and after some conversation with the wife and family, decided to make a leap. But it's just been something that's always on my heart. I grew up in the Youngstown City School System, and coming up in my era, there were not many examples of those that would leave and come back. And so while it's hard, there definitely was a sacrifice tied to it, regarding, pay and things of that nature, amenities that you may have in bigger cities. But the benefit for me to give back to a city that helped raise me was it was a no-brainer. And so I'd rather do it now in my career when I'm still young and ambitious versus later in my career when I'm a little more settled. So like I said, it was sort of a no-brainer. My healthcare career is solid. I did really well in that healthcare sector, and just bringing those talents back here and hoping to just make a difference in my community. That's why I'm here.
Were there some? We're thrilled to have you back. And so, are there any things that surprised you coming back that were better than you thought or worse than you thought?
So I've watched Youngstown from afar for years. I've actually watched the Business Journal via LinkedIn and other sites, but always kept a pulse on what was going on in the city. The landscape definitely has changed. I'd say the leadership structure is I'd say improved. The decisions and moves that we're making as a city are progressive. The infrastructure changes, what I see going on with YSU and with what Mr. Tressel was doing there. Great moves. I see this huge economic shift, and it's exciting. It's an exciting time to be here. A huge transition from the old school way that we did things back in my time. Not that I'm that old, but right. Things definitely have shifted. So I was pleased to see the progression, and I think the climate is just right. So I was very excited to be back.
Excellent. And you do a fair amount of work with kids day to day, right? So that with the YMCA, what type of programs does the Y offer to kids, and especially young?
Yeah, between our branches, we have obviously tons of programs. What's our main focus right now is our scholastic support program. We have youth from a lot of Youngstown City School kids and kids from other areas as well. We saw a need with virtual schooling, and of course, our gigantic facility, we have the space and ability to spread kids out. We have the staffing to keep the kids safe and give them the sort of one-on-one support that they might need during a virtual year, which that's a bit of a transition for them. Program has been highly successful. The kids are having a blast. The kids are safe. And it's very nice to have kids in the building and to hear those voices and see those smiles each day.
Right. Well, they do bring. I mean, we're all optimistic about the future, and it's funny. The joke around the Y is, especially in like the HFD section, it's a bunch of old guys walking around in towels.
Right.
But the youth focus and the programs that are offered really just gives you, there's a lot of energy and vibrancy happening, and even the renovation, which if anyone hasn't been into when was the renovation completed? About a year or two ago?
I think it was a little longer than that. I want to say mid to late. I want to say at least maybe 5 years ago, if I had to guess.
Yeah. So to our audience, if you have not been to the Central Y, you got to check it out because it's cool. I love the orange in the lobby area. It's a great place to shoot video.
It is. Oh, it was definitely a shift for me coming back. I remember the old entryway and the hand check-in. All of those things have changed, but they did an awesome job preserving the old as well as bringing in sort of a new look. So it's beautiful. Mm-hmm. We have a very much so open corridor when you walk into the Y. So if you haven't been there, please come and check it out.
Absolutely. Do you what's been your leadership style? So coming back in after years of being out of town, right? You get used to different amenities, you get used to different perspectives. I mean, North Carolina is literally, there are no, it's such an area where it's all people new to the area, right? All transplants. Did you have to adjust or adapt your leadership style to kind of come back to what I would call an established market?
I would say somewhat. Definitely each location has been a little different. Detroit was very much so cutthroat, a little iron-fisted. Again, great, love my time there. Very great atmosphere. North Carolina, that Raleigh area, very political. Coming back here, that small town feel, everyone sort of knows what's going on, and making those intimate connections. So I'd say that transition was a little different for me. But again, I'm a Youngstown guy through and through, so it didn't take long to get back in the swing of it. Okay,
no, that's good. You're right. You feel like in one respect, it's easier to navigate sometimes because people, the history, the backgrounds, maybe different things about them, or different parts of their personality. But that's also could be harder because it's also people maybe more set in their ways, right? So
this is true. And honestly, I can say, everyone's been very receptive. A mentor once told me you only get to be new once. And I've been gone from the city for so long that, some may not remember me, some may have never met me. But I'd say the city is the folks that I've met with, the businesses, the companies, the leadership team, groups that I've met with have just been awesome, very receptive, great atmosphere for collaboration, a lot of just good opportunity and good people doing good work.
Absolutely. That's good. We want to get into potentially, things we've learned over time and otherwise known as leadership mistakes, because we all learn from our mistakes. But first, we're going to take a minute to thank the sponsors of this Brain Gain program.
The Brain Gain is a collaborative effort, and we'd like to thank our headlining sponsors, including Farmers National Bank, Sweeney Chevrolet Buick GMC, the Mahoning Valley Manufacturers Coalition, and Southwoods Health. Also included are Eastern Gateway Community College, PNC Bank, the Moransky Companies, the Mahoning County Career and Technical Center, the Youngstown Business Incubator, Simon Roofing, the DeBartolo Corporation, Youngstown State University, and Junior Achievement of the Mahoning Valley.
So we are back, and Shawn, as you've transitioned back here to Youngstown, I'm sure along the way or even in the scope of your career in management and leadership, what leadership mistakes have you made and what have you learned from them? Perhaps things you could share with us to help us.
I'd say one of the most notable in my leadership career, and this was earlier in my career, definitely something I learned from promoting other leaders too soon. And so I took this young, ambitious leader, reminded me of myself, and promoted him early and put him out front of this pretty important initiative. And he completely twisted things around, and things didn't go as planned. I definitely had to step in and make some adjustments, but quickly learned, the importance of that of being processed, and obviously the importance of for his career, not putting him in a position to not be successful, but guiding him along the way, probably giving him the support he needed to be successful in that situation. But that's one that comes to mind.
I definitely want to drill into that a little bit, because I'm also a big believer in accountability and just kind of throwing people out there and saying, do what you think is best, and take initiative and go for it.
Right.
And sometimes that's not the best course of action, right? Just to complete hands off. I trust you, go for it, where there's probably, in hindsight, right? Oh, maybe more of a guided process, right?
Definitely. I mean, you can ruin someone's career that way, with a horrible start. And so as leaders, it's our job to, I think, like I said, my goal is to remove barriers for my team so that they can be successful. And if we throw someone into the deep end and tell them to swim, chances are they're not going to be very successful. And so I think, like I said, coaching them, guiding them, giving them tasks that they may struggle with, but things that they can own and be successful at is going to be important. And not really, like I said, giving them things that they're more than likely not going to be successful at. So,
yeah. So often we want to empower people, and everyone has the best intent, and you're empowered to run with it. But I think I don't know. I struggle with that same thing as well. Like, how much do you completely full empowerment to the point of extreme delegation, right?
Yeah, no one wants to be a micromanager. But on the other hand, again, when you're on the hook, ultimately, you can cause yourself more headache than anything. And so, you want to reel them in. You don't want to give too much. Like I said, putting them in a position to be unsuccessful is just not what we want to do.
Yeah, especially with those newer in their careers. You're right, because there may be mistakes that they can't recover from.
Right.
So early in their career. So, right, a more of a graduated or structured, maybe, would you, I guess, how would you do that kind of in hindsight? More shorter milestones, or?
I'd say shorter milestones, and depending on who that leader is and what their skill set is, meeting with them frequently, setting clear-cut goals, again, looking at where their gaps are, helping them to remove those gaps, really building a developmental plan so that they have a room to grow, room to improve upon, things to improve upon, measurably, of course. And so, that's always been my approach. I love working with new leaders and the ambition, and it's controlling that. So you don't want to kill that buzz. They have all this energy and they just want to jump right in and do everything. But really harnessing that energy, I always give the analogy of like a motorcycle out of control can kill you, but under control can be, a beautiful thing. And so helping the leaders to harness that energy without losing that buzz, but then guiding them and guiding that energy where they're productive, effective, and efficient at what they do. So
Right. Yeah, that notion of like finessing or channeling their energy, right? And that's true. And yeah, everyone's profile is a little bit different, but the ability to kind of channel their energy. And I tell you what, communications, every single day you think you communicate enough, but it's probably never enough, right? Just to reinforce.
This is true. That's where that, meeting early and often comes into play. And it's an investment. You have other things to do that are higher on your to-do list, but it's an investment that you have to make, taking that time to, like I said, connect with them on the things that they're struggling with, you'll identify things that they might not see as something that needs to be focused in on. And so making those connections is just going to be critical.
That's a key insight on investment. Because to invest in something means you literally have to give without the return, without the immediate return.
Right.
And the investment is worth it over the long run, just like the stock market, right? If you put your money in years from now, it will have grown. Obviously, if you put it in the right places, but to completely just assign but not invest is probably a key insight here.
Yeah, that investment piece is critical. I've had several leaders throughout the years that, some take to and some don't, but, you have to put that investment in up front.
Right. So from that standpoint, do you feel like our community, our region, we're all making the right investments now? Are there any still major roadblocks you see for our region to progress?
Oh, that's a great question. I think I mentioned earlier, I think the infrastructure that we have set up in the city and the direction that we're going is a great direction. The investments downtown, the work I see being done along Fifth Avenue, around YSU. When I look at other bigger cities, Raleigh and the Detroits, I see a lot of those same type of moves. We have a great leadership structure, I believe, in place and people that are moving and doing and a lot of things that I just could never imagine that I would see in this city in this day and time. And so love the movement. The one thing I would say that we might lack, and I think I hope we're moving towards that is, you still need businesses that create businesses and jobs, of course, well-paying jobs for people to pay taxes, et cetera. And so, I see what's going on out at Lordstown in that area, which is key, and that will impact our area, which I think is beautiful. I think we're creating the infrastructure to attract those types of jobs in the cities. Schools are important. School systems, of course, colleges are a huge, great amenity when you're looking for a place to bring a headquarters or bring a company. Of course, you need the technical infrastructure, depending on what type of business you run. You need, of course, educated, that's where the YSUPs come in, educated employees and staff to work in that sector. I think we're making the moves, just looking for those businesses to come in is what I think I would hope to see as a next step.
Do you think there's enough done in the city proper? Because you're right, there's significant, we report on Lordstown happenings, and obviously we cover the entire region, lake to river. So if something happens in Ashtabula, we cover it. If it's going down in Lawrence County, we cover it. But there's a significant, I think we're over-indexing on Lordstown, which obviously exciting things, Lordstown Motors themselves. Do you think the city is getting enough attention and has a plan to maximize maybe leaning into what's happening out there?
That I don't know. I do see, which is interesting, that I haven't had a chance to see this in the past. Lordstown is looking to really capitalize on that. So they're building living structures, condos, et cetera, from what I'm hearing, out that way to capture those people there versus having it sort of commuters come into their city and out, or into that area, I should say. I think I'm not quite sure what we're doing around that, but I do think that we should be looking to accommodate, those workers in some way, shape, or form to bring those in. I do know that there are some local businesses working with those companies to create employment opportunities locally. So we're building up the work that I believe that Jeff Magada is doing at Flying High, for example, with training up employees and local folks to work in those sectors, I think is excellent. So I am seeing some of that, which I think is awesome.
Good. And the transportation infrastructure, I believe the WRTA is making investments. So
that's great.
Yeah. And I think these are all open items. Like this conversation is isn't really about answering questions. It's about potentially posing questions. So for members of our audience, if you're listening and you know very specifically of plans, you can and you want to share those plans, how the city of Youngstown is embracing all, and I know it's happening, right? It's just that we'd love to have those specific details to help fill in the gaps. But that's a rising tide lifts all boats, right? That's the kind of the famous old saying. So there is enough. There's with economic development incentives, with transportation infrastructure, with the focus on social determinants of health and education. I think we have all the ingredients. Really, it's a matter of execution, right? And
that's exactly it. All of the ingredients, like you mentioned, we just have to get those businesses in that pay well-paying jobs where folks can buy homes and do the things that they need to do, and again have a thriving community.
Right. So, do you to kind of round out here, to close out here, do you have any favorite leadership books, things you've read recently you want to share?
Sure. Classic things. So I'd say Good to Great by William Collins. Can't go wrong with that one. Simon Sinek, Leaders Eat Last.
Yep.
Looks like you got one on the shelf. So there you go.
Yeah, this was Collins. This is Beyond Entrepreneurship 2.0.
Nice.
I didn't realize that this predates Good to Great and Built to Last.
Wow.
So this is a new edition just released, and it's cool because it's the original book with his view from 2020.
Interesting.
So it's literally a framework: core values, culture, BHAG, the big tools. So I'm sorry,
you're gonna make me go back and check that one out.
Yeah, no, I literally have it right here because I'm using the templates to kind of work through a strategic plan. So I cut you off. What other? So you said Collins and Sinek. Any other books that you've?
I'd say my favorite of all time, and like I said, I'm a very classic guy. The good old book, the Bible.
Right.
A lot of great leadership, even management, parables and stories throughout, etc. I draw a lot from the good book and apply them to my life for sure.
Absolutely. So to close, do you have any challenges you'd like to share with the audience? And say if you could do one thing, what would you like to challenge our audience to do?
This is 2021, so we take that year of 2020 and we look forward and we press forward. This is Youngstown. We're resilient, and we really can make it through anything. We've made it through the steel mill transitions and wars and all kind of other different things throughout the years. And so I think just pressing forward, this will be a big year for collaboration, I think, for us in the city. I know myself looking to collaborate with other nonprofits and businesses in the area. The focus is the people, the community, these children, really just looking to make a difference and help raise the spirits and morale of this community as we press forward into this year. So I personally refuse to have another 2020 repeat, regardless of what happens. We will press forward. We will succeed. We're resilient. So I just say, let's connect. If you'd like, reach out. But let's just press forward. Let's be Youngstown and just be great in 2021.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, in fact, it's interesting. So often we ask, well, what was it like coming back to Youngstown? But hey, you were in Detroit, you were in the Carolinas. If you told someone, I'm from Youngstown, what was their reaction typically?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. Can I be honest?
Yeah, that's the point. Because I've done it, New York, Chicago, San Francisco.
That's
I want
right.
to hear what your feedback is.
I always get, ooh, that's a rough city. I get that. If not that, I get, oh, that's a football town. So-and-so came from here and so-and-so came from there. I get that a lot. And then you get the commuters, the people that say, "Oh, I passed through there. I stopped," and depending on where they stopped determines how that story goes from there. But yeah, I was always surprised to know how many people actually knew where Youngstown was and knew about the history. And I think depending on age as well, so older folks had a different view, I think, of our city from the way it used to be. So that's a great question.
No, that's funny. Because I literally would use it as a badge or pride,
Yes.
right? I'm in Chicago. They say, "Where'd you grow up?" Youngstown.
That's right.
Oh, and you do.
Yep.
People like lean back. And then when I was in
Yes.
New York, same thing. Grew up in Youngstown, and they give you that silent nod.
That's right. Yeah, Detroit and Chicago, not too far off. Most folks that I spoke with there were like, "Okay, you're in the same class as us."
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. They feel like there's an identity there, and there's grit. And the key words, right? Grit, resilience.
That's it.
Bootstrap. We get it done.
That's right.
And that's, I think, what's our challenge is our opportunity.
Absolutely.
You hit the nail on the head for sure.
Absolutely. I always like to say I learned, hard work and grit from here. Detroit, I learned how to sort of hustle and go after it. Raleigh, I learned how to be political in the leadership arena.
I see.
And, full circle, here I am back here. So I'll bring all those things back to the city.
Love it. Fantastic. Well, I really appreciate your time. It's been great getting to know you better, Shawn. And
likewise.
A lot of great things happening. We're working together on our Navigators program and really helping. We're thrilled to have you and your team and the kids and the members part of our virtual company tour series. And we're really thrilled to help, expose all the kids that you work with day to day to their amazing potential they have ahead of them.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it. It's going to be great, and looking forward to connecting with you guys on this as well. This will be a great project.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us today, Shawn. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us on the podcast today, because together we're building a culture of entrepreneurship and promoting workforce development. So if you like what you heard, please share it with a friend and leave us a rating or review on your favorite podcast player. Your feedback is very important to us. We want to make the show better all the time. And if you would like to give me direct feedback, email me, please. My email is jherrmann@business-journal.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn. And lastly, would love to thank the members of the Brain Gain Coalition. Those headline collaborators include Farmers National Bank, Sweeney Chevrolet Buick GMC, the Mahoning Valley Manufacturers Coalition, and Southwoods Health. And joining them are members of the coalition, including Eastern Gateway Community College, PNC Bank, the Moransky Companies, MCCTC, the Mahoning County Career and Technical Center, the Youngstown Business Incubator, Simon Roofing, the DeBartolo Corporation, Youngstown State University, and Junior Achievement of Mahoning Valley. Without them, none of this would be possible. So thanks again for joining us today. And remember, together we are building a culture of entrepreneurship and promoting workforce development.
Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that little bell for notifications. And also make sure to connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. For all of your business news, visit businessjournaldaily.com. For all of your arts and entertainment news, go to afterhoursyoungstown.com.